check, 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 chop it down, check, 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 chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody
Damn,
watching.
set,
Man.
watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast, provided to you by 214 Media. I ain't even got the screens up. What's up with it? Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Where was I at? You know I am. I'm your host, Mual. AJ and Dre should be on the way soon. Let me finish checking these things right quick. Hold on. Turn this on. All right, boom. There we go. All right. Administrative items. Let's get the like, subscribe out of the way. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button. It's definitely appreciated. If you are on the Twitter side, you are welcome to stay on that side. If you want to be a part of the show, try to migrate over to the YouTube side so we can see the comments, get you in, all that good stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get the show started, man. So this ain't really about to be nothing spectacular with this game preview, right? Season's over. But Sam Howell is starting. So I think the biggest thing that we need to discuss, and probably the only thing, well, there's a couple other things, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner spoke. There's also something very important, and I'm gonna start off the show with this, right? So Athletic put out a post yesterday where, here it is. The Commanders are 0-6 at home. 0-6 at home in the month of December and January under Ron Rivera. They have a negative 77-point differential in those 6 losses. They don't even come close to winning. That's embarrassing. I don't know. 77 is a lot of points. I'm trying to think of like if there was one game that really blew the doors off the point differential, but I don't think it is. But that's kind of indicative to kind of what we already know about Ron Rivera, right? And like how things have gone late seasons with the Commanders and Rivera. Like the late season collapses are real. This year we kind of know about it because we're in the midst of it. Last year I had told Kyle Smith for GM, if you don't know him, Hog Haven writer, kind of like a coworker, I guess, in that sense. But I was talking to him yesterday in a podcast for Hog Haven, and I was telling him like even last year, if you kind of think about COVID excuses are real. The people that they missed due to COVID is real. I mean, Garrett Gilbert started at quarterback because of COVID injuries or COVID illness. But in that same vein, that 4-game losing streak that they witnessed or that they went through last year started against the Dallas Cowboys, where they tried to make a comeback, but they got smoked for the most part of that game. Like 2 late scores for Washington cut it within 7 points, and they even had a possession where they could have went down to score. But that game where they got dominated up front in the trenches after they made it back to 6-6, right? That happens. You end up losing, but it starts a 4-game losing streak. But yeah, 0-6 in the month of December and January for Rivera and his Commanders. I think that prompted like a really good not that record specifically, but I think it prompted like a really good question just from the media Tuesday about if he felt that this team had ascended or taken the next steps. And, he believes, Ron Rivera believes that they did take the next steps. I don't know if you all heard the quote or saw the quote. I actually have it pulled up. Let me see if I can bring it to the show, because just in case you didn't, I want to make sure you have his full response available. Give me 2 seconds. It may take a little bit longer than I anticipated, though. Hold on. Hold up. Where is the pressure? Is that the same day? Oh, yeah, here we go. Sam will start versus Dallas. And where is third year progress? Oh, here it goes. All right, boom. Please don't freeze on me. Don't freeze on your boy. All right, boom. Here we go. Shout out to, who is it? Scott Abraham, who's got the answer. All right. All right. So here is his full response from Tuesday about if his team is taking the next step or not. How do I share the screen? This is acting brand new for me. Boom. Share the audio. All right, let's get it.
Before the season started, Ron, you said this year 3 was going to be a big year for this franchise, for this team, that you wanted to see growth. You wanted to see that next step. I'm sure you're in the process of the self-reflection, self-evaluation as the finality comes up here on Sunday. Do you feel like this team has met your expectations and taken those next steps that you wanted to see, as you mentioned, in the offseason going in?
I'd like to believe we did. I think we did some really good things. I think there was a point where we were 6th in the whole playoff hunt. We got ourselves there. We played some pretty good football, and some things happened that we just couldn't sustain. We went through a period with some injuries and lost some guys for the season that we didn't have available. We've played several games that way. We didn't have the running backs from the very beginning. We finally got that together, and as things came together, we showed what we could do, and then some unfortunate situations. So do I think we stepped forward? Yeah, I do. Do I think we show we have a pretty good core of young guys? Yes, I think so. And do we have enough young guys, our veteran guys around those young guys? I think we do. But I do think there's a couple positions that we can shore up, that we need to shore up. And again, it comes back to the one question that's looming over everybody, and that's the quarterback position. I was kind of hoping that, we had found a solution, and who knows? We may not, we may have. We'll find out on Sunday how we feel about it coming out of it. But do I feel good enough? Yeah, I do. I really do. I mean, we did some good things, you'd like to believe. Now, we had some opportunities we didn't capitalize, and that's on us. That's on me. But at the end of the day, I feel good about it.
I muted myself after the speaker. My bad, C Money. Appreciate you checking in. AJ, how you feeling? Are you here? All right, let's run it back. I'm about to repeat everything I just said. Yeah, I forgot to unmute myself after he got done talking. All right, but look though. So I was essentially saying like Ron Rivera, they're like Kyle Smith for GM on the Hog Haven podcast straight up said that he felt that Ron Rivera was delusional, right? And I think the thing is with Rivera, Rivera is very strategic in how he speaks with the media. And when you look at those responses, right, that specific response, has his team taken the next step? See money. It ain't happened. But Rivera is the right person to ask that question to, because I think when you look at a person who's delusional, it's like somebody I feel like it's somebody who's completely unaware of, or maybe overly optimistic about something where they know where the truth lies. And I think Ron Rivera is a person who is fully aware of the situation. I don't think he completely forgot at all about what he said last year, that this year 3 is the year in which they're supposed to ascend. And he said that after he acquired Carson Wentz. This ain't before he had a quarterback. He got a quarterback, and then he said this is the year we're supposed to ascend. So when you look at delusion, right, I think there's a part in which he comes across as delusional in that response, saying that, injuries hurt him, saying that it took us some time to find our identity, saying that the running backs were gone for, you only missed Brian Robinson, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Williams, Jared Patterson were all available. They were available to you in those first 5 games or first 4 games. So you got to understand, like, there's several reasons for why you didn't take that next step. But again, back to my point and what I'm saying, when you look at the situation that Ron Rivera is in, and understanding that the season is over in week 17 and not week 18 or even in the playoffs, right? He's not going to tell the media that this was a year that they didn't take that next step. He's going to tell you that he did, and he's going to list some of the reasons why and list some of the excuses. And that's my main thing too when it comes to understanding his response. Like, he was waiting for that reason. If you all remember, immediately after the game when you asked that question, like, why did this thing not work out? And he says, if you look at our situation, right, I'm not going to list off everything for why this didn't work, because then they'll be labeled as excuses. The very next day or 2 days later, on a Tuesday, somebody asks you if you think that this year you took a next step, and you immediately point to, I did, and we could have got better, or we could have got to a playoff bid if it wasn't for injuries, if we didn't take too long to figure out the running back spot, if we didn't take too long to figure out our identity. All of those things are exactly what he claims he was trying to avoid when he was first asked the question after the game on Sunday. There's several reasons for why Rivera shouldn't have taken the cheese, and yet he did. So when Kyle labels him delusional, I slightly agree, but I don't think he was delusional. I think he's very strategic in the media, and I think that what his answer was, that he said, he felt that they took the next steps, is more so him purposefully omitting the fact that he botched several things, and his team had another late season collapse under his regime in 3 consecutive years. This is not worked out. So it's hard to say delusion, but it's also easy to see exactly what Rivera is trying to do in the media, and trying to paint that narrative that best encompasses like what he wants people to talk about with this team. But AJ, how you feeling, big dog?
Man, I'm good, man. Yeah, I mean, I caught some of the tailwind of what you were saying, and then also what Ron did earlier today in his presser, or yesterday. I can't remember exactly, but I just feel as though he's not that suave to be playing with the media like that. He really means that shit. He acts as if like Washington is the only team that's experiencing injuries and death problems around the league. Like your starters are going to get hurt. This is football. You feel me? Nobody is healthy right now going into week 18 and also the playoffs. Like nobody is healthy. That's why it's important to build out your roster all the way and coach all of your players, not just the starters, because you will need your backup running back at some point. You will need your backup tackle or guard at some point, your backup corners, your backup safeties, your backup wide receivers. You're going to need these positions. So to say, hey, we see this, we see that, we had injuries here, there, it's like, bro, Chargers lost Joey Bosa for how long? Like, 49ers have lost Deebo Samuel for how long? They even lost Trent Williams for a couple games. They lost Kettle for a couple games. They lost their 2 quarterbacks for the season. There's so many other teams that have been decimated by injury. Cowboys lost Dak Prescott. They've lost their other wide receivers and James
lost
Watson.
Dak Prescott, AJ, and went was it 4-1 or 5-1, whatever the record was?
I think it was like 5-1.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like
keep
like
going.
You're not coaching. You're not coaching up your teams. That's really what it boils down to. Like you're not coaching up guys overall. I mean, you couldn't win a game or two in the month of December. Like you didn't win a game since November, and that last game you won was against Atlanta, which was barely, like, by the grace of God. Yeah.
1 yard line. So look, I don't know if you heard this one, but for those who are just checking in and for AJ, did you know that Rivera was 0-6 in the month of December and January in his tenure in Washington?
I did see that stat today.
With a negative 77-point differential.
I'm not surprised. And then fans are supposed to come out there in the cold. Luckily it's been like global warming going on where it's been a bit warmer December and already an early start to January. But you want fans to come out in the cold and you haven't won a game in December in your tenureship? Like, come on, at home? Like, there's too many excuses being given. And then he tries to kind of like low key say, I put it on me. Nah, like, bruh, it's on you the whole way. Like, you're not building up this roster. You're not even taking chances with players. Like, you're not giving Chris Paul the look to possibly play guard.
I'm about to try and find Sean McVay's quote. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, go ahead. You're rotating guards. You're rotating Cosme and Lucas. Like, you're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. You refuse to sign a veteran corner. Like, you playing with Wild Goose and other bums.
Where is that quote at for Sean McVay? I may hold on, wait. Let me see if I can put in a keyword. Sean McVay fail. So I'm gonna show y'all the difference between Sean McVay and where is it at? I have to find it. Sean McVay. Let me go to latest. Learning. Oh, I can't find it. Dang. Experience. Let me see if I can find it. Cause I wanna show you all the quote, so you all don't have to worry about. I'm gonna try one more angle. If I can't find it, I'll just repeat it for everybody. Because Sean McVay had a question about how his season went. Excuse me. And his response compared to how Rivera talks to the media is much different. Granted, here we go. Yes, here it is. Here it is. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Present. And here we go. So here's what Sean McVay said about his season compared to. Let me remove my bad. So this year, in my opinion, a professional failure. It's been humbling. It's been challenging. Sean McVay open and honest on the podium right now. AJ, I don't think I've ever seen or heard from Ron Rivera say something similar to this. And he's been a person who has failed 2 out of 3 years in his time in Washington. In seeing this, and I don't want to compare like directly Sean McVay and Ron Rivera, but I do want to compare their approach to the media, and understanding that Sean McVay has been successful his entire tenure in Los Angeles, and then the one time that he faces that failure, that adversity, right? You don't see him hesitate and accept the fact that things are different, and see the fact that I did not do a good job and our team did not do a good job, therefore I failed. And maybe he made me feel a cushion because he won the Super Bowl last year, AJ. But in that same vein, like Ron Rivera is awarded an opportunity to turn around a franchise. He has that quote unquote cushion. Um, and I'm not saying that he should be here or whatever, anything like that, but he has that cushion to say and be more blunt about what's going on under his regime, and he's choosing to say certain things that you outlined and that I outlined as well. I don't know if we'll ever get something like this from Ron Rivera. Something this blunt and something this true from Ron Rivera. Sean McVay can own it at the snap of a finger, and we're not getting that from Ron. Am I muted? Am I good? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, you on mute, by the way. Oh, don't tell me y'all can't hear me. Hold on, let me double check. Test. So my mic is going. So AJ, you can't hear me. Okay. So AJ can't hear me. All right. So I'll keep going in this aspect, right? Okay. So, and that's kind of where I'm at. If you all see the quote right here, right? I don't think you'll ever hear anything.
I can hear you.
Oh, bet. So did you hear what I was saying prior, or should I repeat?
Oh no, I can hear what you're saying, man. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, that's. Here's my thing with the Ron Rivera tenureship in Washington, man. He got fired. He didn't get enough time to sit back and learn from his mishaps in Carolina and what could push him to the next level, and not just being a average coach, but being an above average coach or even potentially elite. He just came right back into the mix with Washington, and unfortunately, because of Daniel Snyder feeling the pressure that a lot of people think that he just always is meddling in on personnel decisions, he gave this guy full realm to run his team. Like, he's a team president, player personnel, all that. And the one thing that he doesn't do is take accountability. So as much as people want to preach about the culture change, the culture hasn't changed. They still losing. That's the most important thing.
And he's not accountable for the fact that he's responsible for the
losing.
He's
not accountable for the fact that they're losing, and also the one that put together this roster and coaching staff. You've seen him make one adjustment to his coaching staff, which was erratic. We still don't even know the details of it, which was Sam Mills during training camp. Like, we seen Jack Del Rio suffer last year and call terrible defenses, and he stuck around. Then he, on top of that, said some insensitive stuff that made national news that was being covered by all media outlets in general. Still, nothing happened to him. He just got a fine. Scott Turner was asked last year. Scott Turner's ass again, has been asked the whole time. And even though he was asked last year, he got an extension. Then he says that he wants all the mentioning and the to do with bringing Carson Wentz here. And now the franchise and even Daniel Snyder, whatever, is supposed to trust him to go get another quarterback. I watched the tape. I looked at the analytics. Well, what the fuck were you looking at? Because he obviously sucks. He's the same guy from the Indianapolis Colts. I seen the tweets. I talked to his coach. I went to see, why they were just being bashful against Carson Wentz. Like, we're going to coddle him and make sure he's our baby and nobody else can say anything bad about our baby.
Brad,
please, but now week 18, go ahead. But now week 18, we're going to be possibly looking for a QB number 1 again. Get the fuck out of here, dog.
Brad, listen, and I don't want to look. I promise the guy. Like, I didn't even want to start the show out like this. I went through like this little resource that helps me outline everything I missed for today. And one of the things was that 0-6 in the month of December and January. But my point, Brad, They went to bat for that man in the offseason. Carson Wentz. They protected him at every angle. You had Jason Wright come out there and defend that man in the public light for everything that people were saying about him. You had Ron Rivera saying what you said after the Chicago post game, like in the offseason, like so many people went to bat for that man. And again, if that's the choices you make, that's fine, right? You make that decision. You say that's our quarterback. We're going to bet on him because I looked at all of this stuff, so I'm going to bet on him. And I believe, based on my knowledge of the position, based on my knowledge of what a good quarterback looks like, I'm going to bet on him and I'm going to defend him to earth's end. And it still doesn't work out. Like, God bless, because at this point, you looking as far as you went on the deep end to defend your guy. Now people are looking at you and like, should we even trust you anymore? Like, should we even trust this front office anymore? And that's kind of where I'm like, I understand why people are mad at Ron. I understand why people are mad at the whole coaching staff. I even understand now why some people that haven't taken this angle yet, but it's going to come eventually. I take that back. People already hate Jason Wright, but I can understand why people dislike the fact that the business side can get involved with something totally irrelevant to what their day job is. Dre, I want to get the floor to you.
Can I say one quick thing before Dre goes? And people shouldn't trust Ron Rivera. If you could watch all the tape supposedly and the analytics or whatever, how could people feel comfortable going into this offseason if you have to remain the head coach? You possibly could mortgage the future to go get a guy like a Will Levis, who is like a Carson Wentz. That's
y'all know better than me.
Scary.
I'm not even gonna speak on Will Levis.
I don't want Will Levis. No.
Yeah, you don't want him, but that's somebody that could possibly catch the eye of a Ron Rivera because Carson Wentz caught his eye.
But see, and that's the issue I have with Ron Rivera is because I feel like at this point he's a desperate coach, and it's hard for me to envision a desperate coach tying his wagon to a rookie quarterback. And that's where Ron has missed the boat at a couple of times in the last couple of off seasons. Like last year, he didn't want a rookie quarterback. He felt like year 3 was his step forward year. And that's another reason why I'm condemning him at this point. Like, I mean, I'm at the point, Mual, and I'm glad you brought it up. I don't trust him anymore. Like, I give people faith and I'll try to believe in you. I'll let you show me.
And you said that before the season, too.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yes, and I'll let you show me a plan. And when your plan has proven not to work, you know, I'll give the plan even a second chance. And I gave him a second chance. But all of his plans have fell flat on his face. And again, if he thought year 3 was a step forward year, he didn't want a rookie quarterback in year 3. He wanted a veteran quarterback. He was out on Kenny Pickett and all of the other guys that were in this draft. He went out and he got his veteran quarterback. That means we are here to win this year. That means we are here to go to the playoffs this year. We are not here to take strides. We were supposed to take strides in year 1 and year 2. That's when you take your strides. You don't take your strides in year 3. Year 3, he said he wanted production. He was telling everybody this was his year. And we got no production. We're sitting at home again, eliminated with 1 week left in the season. So I don't trust Ron at this point. And the unfortunate thing is, we had all said it before the season. We didn't know that Dan Snyder was selling the team this year. You know, so we had said that Ron has hitched his wagon to Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz and Ron's tenures will be tied together. But because of this ownership situation, now Carson's not going to be here next year, but Ron gets to pick another quarterback again. I mean, even shape the roster in a sense. When in a normal year, he's probably gone after this year because the Carson thing didn't work out. So now we have to rely on him to go out and get another quarterback. And it's hard for me to envision, even though I will personally do it, and I think it's best for the franchise to go up and get your guy some kind of way in the draft. I just don't know if Ron's going to do it because he's a desperate coach, and no desperate coach in a lame duck year wants to tie their wagon to a rookie quarterback. We actually seen that with Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden didn't want Dwayne Haskins. I don't know if he wanted any rookie in that last year. I think he knew that was a prove-it year for himself, and he didn't want a rookie quarterback that year. But Dan had overruled. At
least at 19 or whatever.
Yes, in 19. In 19. Yeah. So, but then Ron, on the other hand, it just makes me think a guy like Ron is probably going to go out and get desperate again, and he's probably going going to go out and maybe try to trade for a Derek Carr type of quarterback, even though, like I said, if I was to trade for a quarterback, it would be Lamar Jackson. I'm shooting for the stars. I'm not shooting for mid again. I'm not shooting for 15th or 16th best in the league. I'm shooting for a sure shot, at least if I'm making a trade for a vet. Or I'm going out and get a rookie. That's what's best for the franchise. But again, I don't know if Ron's going to have the franchise's best interest at hand. I think he's going to have Ron's best interest at hand, and we'll see how he handles that.
Man, hey, I give it like a 10% chance he get it right. I sliced it. That wasn't fair. I give him like a 30% chance he get it right. It's still below 50. It ain't too high. I think the only obvious answer, and I think this is a good time to transition to Sam Howell as well, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, AJ, Dre, I'm not breaking down the game. Like, I'm only talking about Sam Howell. We're only talking about Sam Howell here. It's no point in talking about anything else. But in terms of the quarterback spot, I'm only looking at draft. You're looking at, look, Taylor Heineke. If you want to bring him in for second string, that's one thing. But you have Sam Howell under contract. If he performs well, that can probably even solidify your decision to move forward in the offseason as Sam Howell as your backup or somebody who's competing for starter. But if Sam Howell plays good enough, you don't even need to keep Taylor Heineke around. Sam is the guy under contract. Sam is the guy who also is a spark plug with a, like, quote unquote spark plug player trait, who has a better arm than Taylor Heineke. Like, you can live with a Sam Howell if he performs well enough. And it's not the best spot for a person who's a rookie and playing his first game, but at the end of the day, who the hell cares when you play? But point being, when you look at the free agency side or trade side, the only person you can really trade for is Derek Carr. Lamar is an unrestricted free agent, but he may get tagged, so I guess that kind of gets a little cloudy. And if they decide to do the Josh Norman thing where they rescind the tag or something, I don't know. Like, I don't know how all of these things work. AJ knows better than probably both of us, but that's one thing. But at the end of the day, free agency, you're looking at bridge options, and the best bridge option that you got out there is what's that guy named? Jimmy G. So I don't really think that. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, AJ, Dre. This is the 1 year where I would sit here and say, just from an objective standpoint, I think Jimmy G would do all right in 2023 with this team, because he's not going to be expensive, but you can also build up the offensive line. I'm not going to sit here and say that Jimmy G is like a Super Bowl caliber guy on this roster, because there's like the defense is too thin. But I think the roster is good enough for him to put these guys in contention for NFC East. But that's one thing. Side note, that's a side note. Point being, my main thing is everything outside of drafting a rookie is a distraction. I don't know who that rookie is going to be. I don't know what round he's going to be in. But you need to figure out who that rookie is that you have under 4 years, because you have at least for 4 years, because everybody else is somebody where you're looking at them for like 1 or 2 years, and go from there. I truly don't think you need to go for a veteran.
I mean, if Ron's still here, I don't want him to do anything. Don't even sign a quarterback. Line his ass up to play quarterback.
It gets tricky. I understand where you're going too. I want you to explain it, because I do got a conversation, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, why would I want this coaching regime to pick a quarterback for me in free agency or especially the draft when I know I'm going to be getting rid of this guy and bringing in a whole new staff? It's just dangerous waters altogether. He might as well rock out with Sam Howell and try to get the worst record that you possibly can. You're going to lose the team, but you're going to get the worst record in the league more than likely.
So here's my thing with that one. Obviously, a new coach is probably going. A new regime altogether. GM, head coach, etc., owner. They want their rookie. They want their guy that they can build with, right? Or they want to go for that prize guy like Russell Wilson with the Denver Broncos, and they say that's the big prize. We want to go with him and build this franchise out the right way. It didn't work. It hasn't worked for Denver to this point. They got like 4 or 5 more years. But for Washington, you look at a situation where you don't have anything on your roster except for Sam Howell, and Sam Howell's exposure happens in 3 days. yeah, from a standpoint of like trying to find an answer, you literally don't really have any other options. Like you have 0 options, and if you go for, I'll take that back, not 0. You have 2 options. If you go for that bridge guy, you got to sign that man for 2 to 3 years, whoever that may be. If you go for a rookie, it makes sense, and it's only capable of working if you go for a rookie in like that first round, that second round, or that third round. Like Rivera's only going to take 2 routes, I believe. I only think he's going to take 2 routes. It's either free agency or it's either draft. I don't think it's only 2 routes that he's going to take. I don't think he's going to trade again because he just got burned making a dumbass decision to trade for Carson Wentz. He's not going to do that 2 times in a row. And if he does that 2 times in a row, and he does it for Derek Carr, bro, I don't even know if it's going to be a show in 2023, bro. I can't do it. I can't do it, dog. But nah, for real though, like it's only 2 routes for him to take. Only 2 logical routes for him to take. Side note, speaking of logical routes, why and what convinced him? Like he said he slept on it and he thought about the Taylor Heineke thing and that it didn't make sense and he wanted to talk with veterans to go to Sam Howell and start him for the whole game. I don't want to like further like criticize him, but it's like I don't see how that didn't make sense to you in the first place. That's all I'm getting at. That should have made sense off the rip. Like season was over. What's the point of starting Taylor Heineke? Yeah.
But see, Jamal, this is kind of going back to the conversation we had the other day where we talked about Sunday, where he didn't know they could be eliminated that day. And for me, I think because he literally thought that starting Sam Howell just wasn't a thought in his mind, until this had to have a conversation about it. And even if you've seen some of the reports this morning, I mean, they were talking about, I think it was yesterday morning when they announced it. But yeah, I mean, they were talking about yesterday morning. The reports were that he was going to start Heineke and they were going to play Sam Howell at some point in the game. I honestly think those reports were true. And it's actually ridiculous. I mean, and he should have got bullied and shamed for that because what is the purpose of that? What else are you looking for? Are you trying to win this game, Ron, at this point now? I mean, now are you trying to convince this team, we have to win, but you just had fucking 4 weeks where you wouldn't win. You had 4 straight weeks where you couldn't win a game when you needed to win a game. Now you don't need to win this game. You need to evaluate, and you're still talking about, now I'll just go back to Taylor Heineke. But you benched Taylor Heineke for Carson Wentz in the most important game of the goddamn season. So why would you even think about going back to Taylor Heineke? So, and then if you believe the reports that Taylor Heineke had to be the one that talked Rivera out of starting him.
Dre High.
Yeah, I mean.
Dre High and Bobby.
Because I don't like things that don't make sense. And Ron's just not making a lot of fucking sense right now. I mean, and for me, it just goes to show you that he's just kind of lost in all of this right now. And why I was suggesting this whole week that he's burnt out. Because how are you waffling on this decision? This should have been made Monday or Tuesday, this decision. And it should have come from you. You, the coach.
Man said he had to look at the tape
and
evaluate.
The coach, you know what these guys can do. You've had 17 games to evaluate and know what these guys have. And you're still talking about, I guess we're going to look at Taylor and we'll give Sam a chance at some point. No, make the decision. And I really 100% believe that Taylor Heineke was the one that had to talk him out of starting him. Ron listened to Heineke and was, I guess, I will go ahead and start Sam Howell. Now, yeah, I mean, and that's why, we're talking about what these guys are going to do this offseason. If Ron is here, I'm with AJ. If Ron is here this offseason, just do the bare minimum. I don't care what you do, quarterback. you can
don't try too hard, bro.
Just don't mortgage our future because you won't be here for that future. So don't mortgage what you won't be here for. Do whatever, and I'm fine with that. And you know why I'm fine with that? Because if we go out and have a horrendous season in Ron's lame duck year, we're getting a top 3 pick in one of the best quarterback drafts in years. We're going to have a chance at Caleb Williams and Drake May. So, yeah, I don't give a shit what Ron does with the quarterback position this year. But what he has shown me is that I can't get behind his decisions anymore.
Hey, man, yeah, that's why I'm like, if Ron is going to stay here, dog, don't touch shit. You not allowed. I don't give a fuck if Tanya Snyder is the one making decisions. Don't let them approve shit. Like, you're not about to mortgage our future, dog, as a franchise, and you're not gonna be the one here to coach up this kid that you draft possibly. I also don't really see a situation where even a veteran quarterback would want to come here under Ron Rivera because he's a lame duck.
Bruh,
That ownership is changing. There's no reason
he doesn't have any other route except for rookie. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
and I agree with you all. Like, I personally, I don't want him to touch anything. Like, bruh, I know we about to go through hell. I'll just deal with it. But I know objectively speaking, he has only 2 routes to take: free agency or draft, bro. He's going to go for somebody. Like, he's going to go like top of the line.
No, the scary part is he could fucking restructure Carson Wentz deal. That is the scarier part because it's like at the
Carson
end of the day,
embarrassed him.
He ain't got him active this week, bro. He can't do it.
He embarrassed him. Carson embarrassed him.
He
but
can't
it's
do
just
it,
like
bro.
it's just like dog. This dude, like I said last year, man, this dude should have been fired last year, and we wouldn't even be having this type of discussion. We would have a whole different coaching regime in here, and they would possibly have put them in a better situation than what he did his third year, his third most important year, supposedly. This motherfucker's trying to tell y'all how to build cultures and he knows the solution for quarterbacks.
Takes 5 years.
He's never done any of these things. So it's like, it's fucking funny because it's like Panthers had a culture. John Fox did take that team to the Super Bowl before Ron Rivera got there. You feel me? They had a lot of veteran presence on that team. And that's another thing that this team lacks. They don't have veterans. They don't have elite veterans at that. Like, you got some guys, but you don't really have that leadership in the locker room. Like, if your coach is slacking, you don't have those players in your locker room that can pick up the slack from the coaches. You don't have that. Like,
well, AJ, that's actually a good point because what the best year they've had here when they went to the playoffs, they had Thomas Davis in the locker. Now Thomas Davis couldn't play anymore, but he was a hell of a veteran leader.
Yeah, he got Thomas Davis came in here not to even play. He got brought in here to be a voice of reason within the locker room, a player's coach. Yeah, because like even if you guys sit back and go and look at the same way we got this in season Hard Knocks or All or Nothing.
What was that junk? All Amazon junk?
Yeah, Thomas Davis is hella vocal in that locker room and on the practice field in regards to how they're playing, how they're handling themselves, the lack of responsibilities. Like, you could just tell, like, this dude really runs the locker room. Like, even when the coaches aren't around, he's going to hold people accountable. But even if you look at the All or Nothing season, like I brought up in the past, Ron Rivera had to fire his defensive coordinator in season. He fired other assistants in season. He has not done that here in Washington. Like, somebody asked Scott Turner today if he's concerned about his job. He was like, you just never know. Why would he be concerned? He just signed an extension in March of 2022. Like, he is taken care of financially. If he's fired, he's Gucci. Like, his last name is Turner. He's always going to be able to get a job somewhere. It might not be coordinator, but that check is still clearing.
He was a QB's coach, right? Before he got the OC job, he was QB's coach, right? Yeah, so here's what he said: job security. Because I had the Jones pulled up just for your conversation, AJ. He said that's part of the league. It can happen to anybody. It happened to guys that don't expect it. I just do my job. Whatever happens after this week, you just go with it. I'm prepared to coach this game and get this team ready to be successful down the road. And then he followed this up, one more quote, about putting players in the best position to succeed. He said, for the most part, I feel like I've done a decent job of it. There are sometimes I've gone too far one way or the other for sure, quote unquote. So those are his 2 comments on job security and putting his players in the best position to succeed. Okay, so for me, I think you all said a lot, and you all said a lot to the point where I don't disagree, and I guess we can actually even change the subject to Sam Howell finally, because I've been trying to do that for 20 minutes, but I think that this is big, man. Ron Rivera and understanding what we're looking forward to, which is not pretty. I do think this is a lame duck status season, but let's get to Sam Howell and let's close up. He gets to start. Chris Paul is going to play as well, offensive guard. I don't know how many other people he's going to have on his offense in terms of starters, like actual starters when games actually matter. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if Terry's going to be around. I don't know if Curtis is going to be around. I know Jahan, he's a rookie. Jahan's going to be around. Diami's going to be around. Cam Sims will be around. I just don't know about Terry. I don't know about the tight end spot. What in chat, everybody that's in here talking, I want to know what you all want to expect from Sam Howell as well. What are your expectations for Sam Howell? Let us know in the comments. Let's see what you all have to say. And for you all, AJ Dre, expectations for Sam Howell, but also like, how are you going to weigh this going into the off season? Is this something where it's going to be this is a team that's fighting for the division title, and he played good or he played bad. Therefore, I'm going to see where he's at. Like, how are you all going to judge this Week 18 game for Sam Howell as he goes up against the Dallas Cowboys?
This is actually a high pressure game for Sam Howell for a lot of reasons, because he has to show something in this game. I mean, under typical circumstances, we would look at a rookie quarterback and we would say, well, you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a leash, a long leash, let him go out and prove himself. But he's in a situation where this is literally the last game of the season. And this is the last game of the season in a big offseason, in a sense that you don't know what's happening with your coaching staff, your ownership, or anything. So Sam's future is kind of in a limbo. And the only way he can make himself look good in any of this is go out and play good. But the task is actually a tough task because Dallas still has something to play for. So Dallas is not actually just throwing their fourth stringers like Sam Howell would have seen in preseason or something. Like, Dallas actually is going to have guys out there. Micah Parsons is going to be playing. Trayvon Diggs is going to be playing. So they're going to be having their guys come at Sam Howell. And that's why, when you were kind of going over who the starters who may or may not play, I think you have to play your position players like Terry, Jahan, and all those guys has to play in this game just to give Sam Howell a fair shot in evaluation. Like, you can rest guys maybe on the defense. Maybe you don't even have to play Terry a full game. Give Terry like maybe a quarter and a half, kind of how you would play Terry in the preseason. But Sam needs to have at least a cast of guys out there because Dallas has something to play for. So Washington, has to put him in a position to look good. And like I said, for himself, he has to go out there and put some flashes of a lot of good flashes out there. He can't put a Carson Wentz type of performance out there last week, because if he puts that performance out there that Carson Wentz put out there last week, you're going into this offseason looking at Sam like, I can't trust this guy. This guy can't compete for a starting position, because the last I saw of him, he couldn't play. So, you want to actually put a good taste in people's mouths. It's the last taste that people are going to get of you. I mean, pause. But, this is the last taste that people are going to get of you on the football field for this season. Pause. Hey. He got to give him this best. He got to go out there and he has to make people your last impression, has to be your best impression. Because if your last impression is your worst impression, people they're not going to give you the chances you think you need. And I say that in the sense of, I always go back to my other teams that I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of the Georgetown Hoyas. Patrick Ewing's a really bad coach. Patrick Ewing's a legendary player. Legendary player is now getting his legacy tarnished by what he's doing as a coach. People only remember you for what you've done last. The NFL is called what? Not for long, or not for lately. What have you done for me lately? And if Sam Howell's lately is anything bad, no one's going to trust him going into next season. So my expectation for Sam, and it may be unfair, but Sam has to put some good flashes out there. I expect him to put a lot of good flashes. I don't expect Sam to go out there and have the perfect quarterback rating in this game or have the perfect game, but he has to put good flashes to make you feel good, somewhat good about this guy, to say he can compete for a starting quarterback position next year, and we don't have to do much at this position. We'll just let Sam run in Ron's lame duck year. If he doesn't put anything good out there, it's hard to trust him going into next year.
Man, that is a lot of pressure to put on a 5th round pick.
It is. And that's why you don't start him at the end of the season, the last game.
Well, I mean, that's why you hope that you already know that you don't like Taylor Heineke. It's proven. Like, you went and traded assets and took up a big chunk of money to bring in Carson Wentz. You don't like Taylor Heineke. And that's even more a reason why Taylor's like, man, you don't want me here. Like, just let me rest up. You already have put in the media that I'm banged up.
Let me continue to be this banged up ass
no
quarterback,
bullshit.
and don't put me out there against Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence,
Basically
and,
said
and
that man
Dan
can't finish
Quinn's.
the season.
Yeah, Dan Quinn's fucking defense. When you know I'm headed into free agency, let me secure my bag. You feel me? Possibly. I don't believe he's gonna secure a bag, but when you went to ODU and you were sleeping on your sister's couch, you know, $3 to $5 million to be a bullshit ass quarterback that can't throw is a bag.
Still money.
Yeah, that's amazing money. That's life changing money. So it's like with Sam Howell, the pressure shouldn't be on him because at the end of the day, his head coach is still named Ron Riverboat Rivera. His offensive coordinator is still Scott, I'm not my daddy, Turner. And the defense still being called by Jack Del Rio, who I feel like the defense low-key overrated in some regard. So
I think they got better as the season went along, bro.
They look favorable. I mean, they look better in some cases.
Once they found their pieces, bro. Once they found out where they fit and realized that the 3 safety set matters more than anything else that they got out there. I think that's what changed things, especially with the Benjamin St. Juste cornerback spot and replacing him replacing Ben with William Jackson.
I feel like that defense is always one player away from just falling right back down to earth.
Very thin.
Yeah, because like look at the cornerback position. Why are you so stubborn that you couldn't bring in a veteran corner? You brought in undrafted guys, practice squad guys. You refuse to bring in a veteran corner. There's so many out there that were looking for jobs, looking for opportunities. No matter if we feel like they washed up, just their presence alone could have helped. You know, instead, when a Ben St. Juste does get injured, now you're putting out Wild Goose ahead of even Danny Johnson, who's been on this team for years. You feel me? You're not even giving him a shot before these guys are just pulling off the street. You're bringing in a Corn Elder or whoever the fuck you want, Castro Fields
Danny
to play
Johnson
corner.
It's funny that you say that, AJ. Like Danny Johnson he didn't get drafted or signed by this regime. And the same thing that happens with Cam Sims. That's why I bring it up. Like Cam Sims wasn't signed or drafted by this regime. They gonna do certain people dirty. It don't matter how many plays they make. It don't matter what their presence looks like on the field. I wasn't a fan of Danny Johnson in the preseason in terms of how he even understood simple.
I don't even think Danny was a fan of himself.
Yeah, simple coverage concepts, bro. Understanding your leverage, things like that, all that stuff, right? But to your point, AJ, like they didn't even trust people who was like prior to this regime. The only person that they had to trust was John Allen, Deron Payne, and Terry McLaurin, because those 3 guys were undeniably talented. That was it.
Yeah, but it's like even take the DT position. Like you lucked up on getting Ridgeway, but if you ain't have Ridgeway, who was gonna fill the rotational piece for Payne and Allen during the season? Like it's just this team is too reliant on starters. And some of the starters in the position groups aren't even good players. It's just you have to build out depth. This is a football team. Guys are going to get injured. Anything can happen on any given play. Like, luckily, your top tier players haven't suffered like any big magnitude injuries, but you know you're just one step away from having to play your third corner as a starter, and you don't want to bring in veterans like. We had to see another season of John Bostic and David Mayo playing linebacker alongside Jamin Davis. Like all this preaching people doing during the season of Cole Holcomb or before the season, him being good, blah, blah, blah. We need to re-sign him. Ain't nobody thinking about that motherfucker because he wouldn't hit that shit. Like he's not an impactful player. It's just fans just fall in love with certain guys. I don't know if it's, the mullet or what. Yeah, but it's like these guys aren't great. Like even I'm in spaces, I'm saying, man, we got to figure out how to re-sign Deron Payne and Cam Curl. What? Cam Curl, bro? Like, dude is still under contract. Why are you worried about trying to extend Cam Curl? For what reason? Like, he's injured, and I don't really think that he's that important to this defense as people think. He's not
He's
You know, you
Okay,
been hating
so-
on Cam. for a
I'm
minute.
listening. I
No.
want you to finish your point, AJ. I'm not going. I have a disagreement, but I want you to finish. I want. Go
I
ahead.
understand you'll
What's
have a
your point?
disagreement, but when you say extend this guy who was a 6th or 7th round pick, you're and in these spaces, this is what they're saying. Oh, I
Right.
think he should get $8 million like a Marcus May.
Oh, you're so all right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like he should get an $8 million contract a year like a Marcus May for what, bro? Like, this is not an impactful player in that regard, salary wise. Like, I'm not saying that Cam sucks, but he's not somebody that I'm trying to pay more than possibly even $4 million to per year. Like,
But you know
Bobby
what?
McCain's getting 5.
I was
So
gonna
my-
say this
go
is
ahead.
why I agree with AJ real quick is because we got Derek Forrest. We identified another player that can play the same role that Cam Curl plays. So yeah, I mean I do agree with AJ in that sense, but I disagree in the fact that AJ kind of downplays Cam Curl in his impact. I think Cam Curl is a pretty solid player. I mean I don't think he's a superstar or anything, but I think he's been a pretty solid player in his defense. But I
He
definitely
is
want to
the
hear what Maul.
backbone.
Dre, if you
He
cut
is the
the checks,
backbone.
if you cut the checks, would you pay Cam Curl over $6 million a year?
If I didn't have Derek Forrest, I probably would, honestly. Yeah.
But that's they don't even play the same position, Dre. That's where I was about to cut in. Like
Okay.
Derek don't even like to play in the box. And I may be wrong. Like, I'm not saying this like verbatim, but they don't play the same in the box. Like Cam Curl embraces that shit. Derek Forrest,
Yeah, he
I'd rather
does.
play single. I'd rather play up high. Like put me in the post. Like let me make plays
Yeah.
when I got space. Cam Curl, he's a guy. Put me in the box. I'm good with tight spaces. I can maneuver with these offensive linemen. I can get dirty. I'm cool with that. And that's why I was like, this is a little bit different. But in terms of like the $6 million, I'll let you answer as well, Dre. With AJ asked that question. I wouldn't pay him over $6 million. I agree with that. But I do think that the biggest thing in understanding Cam Curl is important is the fact that he is important to that entire defense. He knows where people need to line up, and I think that's very valuable. I think that's like if you have a person who is smart enough to understand the scheme and what the defensive coordinator wants to get done, that makes your defense entirely tremendously better because he can make sure that everybody's in the right position. Therefore, people are executing their assignments at a higher rate, and they have an understanding quicker than somebody who's not out there and you have several coverage busts. Like
But Maul,
that's where I think that
he
value takes a lot like that needs to be inputted in value. Excuse me.
he only has that value because you failed to do what?
I'm not answering.
You failed to get a fucking middle linebacker.
It's a good point. I mean, it's actually a good point.
Hey man, you could get one this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be Mayo or Bostic or Holcomb again. at a discounted
Man,
rate.
Mayo and Bostic are free agents, man. Fuck them, dog. I mean, no disrespect, but fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Fuck them, dog. Fuck them. What the Hawks say? Cam is definitely needed, but we have we have to address other concerns. I mean, that's a fact. We know that. I think that's a fact. Secondary, more importantly, meaning cornerback. That is the biggest thing. I don't know what's going on with Kendall Fuller, like in his future with Washington, but you can move on from him. You can look for like more solid upgrades. I still think like a lot of people think that Kendall Fuller like turned around the season, but fellas, I think that Kendall Fuller more so played a technique and coverage that was more probably suitable for him as opposed to like facing like when he faced those more athletic corner receivers and more quick twitch receivers. That's where he had his struggles. Like he just didn't face them down the stretch, so he looked better. But
Yeah, I
with all
think
that
it's time
being
for
said,
Kendall to go ahead switch to free safety.
if that's going to help him, I'm not going to sit here and say if it is or isn't. But hey, if it's going to help him, go for it. Gazzino, what's going on? Appreciate you checking in, big dog. He said they seen Milo get that big hit in preseason. Said, now we're going with Bostic and Mayo. All right, last thing, man. And we get up out of here. You know what's crazy? I don't even remember how we got off of Sam Howell. Like my intention was to talk about Sam Howell for like the last 10, 15 minutes of the show. I don't know how we got off of Sam Howell, but I'm gonna just go ahead
We
and
got a
on
good
there
amount of
'cause
Sam
we-
Howell talk.
we-
I thought we
we
talked
talk-
about Sam
we
we
Howell.
finished
talking about
the
these-
Sam Howell talk.
Yeah, we was
I thought
talking
we
about
had a
the
good
bum-ass
conversation on
coaching
Sam.
staff. Yeah, because I
Okay.
mean, it all circles back to the same coaches are still in place that
It does.
Taylor played under and Carson played under.
Hey, for what it's worth, bruh. Let me see if this is clear. This joint was like up here. And I
What's
had
in there, Mo? I thought it was a
Hey.
protein shake.
Hey,
Motherfucker be working out. I'd be like, damn, man, he just drinking a protein shake.
no, not tonight, man. That joint was up here, bruh. You know what I'm saying? So we down, we gone. The glass is
It
glass
ain't
is
even no
drunk.
Thursday night football
listen,
tonight, Mo.
It ain't. It ain't, bruh. But listen, I don't know where we was at, but I'm gonna just get the floor open before we close. Is there any last things on Sam Howell, Washington Commanders, Week 17 that we need to talk about? Again, I'm not previewing the game. I don't care if they win or lose. I think that they really need to lose because like winning is the more short-sighted view than anything. Understanding that you want to make sure you always have the highest position in the draft in a situation where a season doesn't matter. And I agree with, I don't know who I heard it from today, and that's gonna suck. But like making sure that you have the highest position gives you a shot. I'm not saying a guaranteed shot, but it gives you a shot to trade up and have that ability to go for the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. And that's CJ and who the other guy? Bryce.
Young.
Yeah, it gives you the shot. So I give the floor to you all. If you all have any last thoughts on the quarterback position, anything related to Washington, the floor is yours, and we can get up out of here.
Yeah, man. I think that the Washington fans, if you believe in God, you should pray that Ron Rivera resigns come Monday morning, dog. Like, because this shit ain't looking good. Like, I enjoy doing the show with y'all, but I can't sit through another Ron Rivera season, man. Like, I cannot do another off season with this guy. Like, he's very.
I don't want to do this with Rivera either. But if I gotta do it, you gotta do it. So
Yeah,
exactly.
you,
Hey, man,
you
like,
can shut that noise up.
Together, bro.
I'm more so waiting for Monday, man. Like, I feel like I got a couple ideas of what coach is gonna get fired and who's gonna quit. I definitely know Cliff Kingsbury is definitely resigning.
You know that why I love that show
burnt out.
on HBO.
That man is burnt out.
I tell y'all every week, bro. Every single week that they lose, bro. I be like, hey, this show finna be lit, bro. Hey, that HBO show finna be lit.
I know he be in his little beautiful crib drinking Casamigos like shit to the head because that man is burnt out. And Kyler Murray ain't gonna be able to start next year. No way. Like he knows for sure. Like I could leave this job and go get an OC job, or I could just be on TV.
He going back to college.
No way in hell.
Cliff Kingsbury going back to college.
Yeah, he gonna go back to college, but he could either just chill because he got an extension too. He could just kick back at home and do TV, like he do college football.
He did do a good enough job too, like to the point. I'm not saying he did a great job, but he did a good enough job to the point where he could go to college and get a head coaching job.
See, that's his roots. That's what Matt Rule did. He gonna do the same thing Matt Rule did. He gonna go get him a good college job too. He gonna have his pick of the litter of those college jobs.
Man, I wish that Jackson State would call Ron Rivera and see what he trying to do. And maybe Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio can.
AJ ain't go to no HBCU, bro. You trying to ruin the legacies, bro.
Hey man, it is what it is. But I mean, honestly, man, I just hope that some of the players that are key to this team leave that game Sunday healthy. I don't really care what Sam Howell does because it doesn't matter. It's all for nothing. I just think that we just witnessed another season of poor coaching. Overall, the best thing that he does is provide inconsistency. I just feel bad for some of the guys on the team that I work with, I care for, friends with, but at the end of the day, this is not the coach that's going to get them to the next level. And unfortunately, this team is going through a sale process that they're not going to be able to pivot. But on the bright side, maybe we know who I feel definitively sure that we'll know who is buying this team before the Super Bowl or the week of Super Bowl. Maybe they might feel comfortable enough to go ahead and get that head coach in here before the draft. It might seem unrealistic to some, but I mean, we also seen Bruce Arians step down from the Tampa Bay job, even though Todd Bowles is already in the fold. But there's no way that someone buying this team is going to let Ron Rivera further ruin the product that they just purchased under their first year as owner. There's no way.
here's where I'll burst your bubble a little bit, but with that, if Ron Rivera isn't fired or he's hasn't stepped down by after this game on Sunday, then you either keep him or he steps down in March, April, whenever the new owner comes in, and all of the good candidates are already gone. They're already at other places, so you're gonna have a lame duck year regardless.
I mean, that's also a possibility, but we also don't know how this coaching stuff is gonna go. Like last year, I thought D'Amico Ryan's was getting the job for sure. I thought Leslie Frazier was getting the job for sure. I thought that Eric Bieniemy would be the year he finally gets that breakthrough and gets a job. I thought Raheem Morris was gonna get a job. I thought a couple other individuals that are non-blacks were gonna get a job as head coach. It didn't happen. I have no clue what's gonna happen this cycle. Seems as Jim Harbaugh just took his name out of the NFL
he took
prospect.
it out.
I mean, he said he put out a statement like he intends to be around Michigan for 2023. But I knew that the Denver Broncos wanted to hire him. I also have seen that the Panthers talked to him as well. I don't know. Even though the Chargers made the playoffs, I still think that they go and pursue Sean Payton. But I really don't know, how this whole carousel is gonna play out. I think some teams are gonna force themselves to buy into a guy like a Brian Johnson, the OC for the Lions. Some guys might get interested in Gannon, the DC from the Eagles, or their offensive coordinator Shane Sheehan. Like, you just never really know how this is gonna go. But I just hope that Ron Rivera takes a step back after the game Sunday and gets booed the fuck out, and he just starts thinking about his life and his legacy and just says, man, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm going to step away. But he also has 8 million reasons to stick in there. So it could be interesting, but I just hope that something comes along for this team in the next couple months, and that everybody playing on Sunday leaves the game healthy. That's it.
Last thing I'll say, fellas, is that I'm looking at this from a perspective that I think we're looking at all the obvious things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I think that the obvious thing is that Washington is expected to keep Rivera around for some time. I think that Washington is also in a spot where they're going to be relying. Washington, meaning the organization, front office, ownership, is going to be relying on Ron Rivera to make some important decisions for them in this offseason as related to the roster and evaluating the roster. I think that there's one space that we're missing, and I look at this from a gambling perspective, Dre. When there's always like a heavy favorite on one side, somebody and people don't really consider the other side and what that may be. I'm not sitting here saying that that's going to happen. I'm sitting here saying I think that there's a small room, a small thing for the fact that there should be something on the table for coaching and the coaches this off season, whether that's moving on from Scott Turner. Again, I don't know, because Ron, if Ron does have that power to remove his offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, I don't know what that means for Rivera this year, and I also don't know what that means for like people who may entertain the job. Um, but I just leave that one space open for the fact that there could be something that we don't see, we can't anticipate. It's that one alleyway, whatever that may be. I just think that there could be some space for that one spot that we don't anticipate for this team moving forward. I don't know what that may be, but I just think that it's important to say it at least, because something is just too obvious to keep Ron Rivera around. I think it's too obvious to keep this entire team around, like the organization and the coaching staff. I think it's too obvious to keep it around. So what is that something that we're missing? I think the missing piece can be a little bit more clearer in a few weeks. So that's the only thing I got to say. Sam Howell, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to breaking it down when the film comes out. I'm looking at every single snap. and I guess I'll go from there with Sam Howell. But I'm excited to see him play. I'm not gonna lie to you all. I want to see what he got going on. I did think that this team season was gonna be over 4 weeks ago when the season started. So I wish he would have had 4 weeks to kind of go through this experience. But if I get one game, okay, cool, we'll go from there. But
Hey,
I'm looking forward to it.
question before we get out of here, right? If Sam Howell goes and balls out and wins against Dallas, then what? Are you even more heated at Ron Rivera and company? Or
I'll say no.
is it still the same because there's no longer a playoff berth on the line?
I'll say no in that I won't be more heated at Ron Rivera because I understand the situation that they were in. Like the hindsight game would put me in like, well, damn, you could have been played this guy. But in understanding that there was Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz available, I can't. It's hard for me to get upset in this particular situation. It wasn't like it was one quarterback or Sam Howell. He had 3 quarterback options. 2 of them made a lot of sense. One of them was a rookie. I'm not going to get mad at him for going with the 2 veterans, but I will. I won't sit here and say it's unfair to criticize Ron for this, but I personally won't do it. I personally won't.
I'll say no as well. And reason I say no is because if Sam Howell goes out there and balls out this weekend, he has a great game. I mean, all that means is he had one great game. It's a small sample size. That's why I say he's kind of in a really bad position because he's in a position where he plays bad. And the last thing you remember of Sam Howell is that he played bad. And you think he's a bad quarterback now because that's the last taste or that's the last thing you have from Sam Howell. But if Sam Howell plays great, it just means he played one great game. Matt Flynn played one great game with Green Bay, and Seattle went out and traded the fucking farm for him and gave him a great contract. Yes. And then he ends up getting benched for rookie Russell Wilson in his first year with Seattle. So, I mean, that was the last game of the season that he got paid and traded off of. So Sam Howell, if he has this one great game, sure, that's cool. All that means is we can give this guy another look next year, and Ron, and this is coming from Ron's standpoint. Ron, if he's back next year, he can say, okay, I can give Sam Howell an extra look next year. Whoever comes in here, maybe we can let this guy compete with Sam Howell. But if a new coach comes in here, he has no reason to believe that Sam Howell is his future. All he's seen was Sam Howell play one game, and he may not even want to bring in Sam Howell. He might just have no faith in Sam Howell, want to bring his own guy in. So that's why I say it's a weird position for Sam Howell to come in, especially the spot, because he's playing against a team. It's actually one of the better teams in the conference, and they still have something to play for, and they're going to be coming for him. So he has to show something, because if he don't, then people are going to be like, well, we only seen this guy look good in preseason against 4th stringers. When he played against Cowboys, when we only seen him that one time, he wasn't good. That's why I say it's a really unfair situation for Sam to be in, but it's the game is the game. So to answer the question, no, I wouldn't be more mad at Ron, because like I said, we just don't know. This one game's not really going to tell us much. It's just going to maybe give us something to look for in the future. And my last thing before I get up out of here, to answer the question about my thoughts on the game this week, I'm in draft mode. When you show me you're out of the playoffs, you're eliminated, I'm all in the, hey, let's get the better pick. And right now we currently sit at pick number 15. We can go as high as 21 with a win, or we can go as low as 10 for the loss. So go ahead, Dallas, put us out of our misery. And also,
put that 40 burger up on us, bro.
And I'm at the point now where I'm like, hey, Ron Rivera ain't gonna be here much longer. I don't care if he looks good or not. Get him out of here. Make him look bad on his way out. Whatever. If it expedites the process, that's great. However, I do want to see Sam Howell look good, man. I'm rooting for the kid. I am going to watch the game. I'm going to watch every snap, and I do hope he looks good, because if he looks good, that's just better for our prospects in the future. Well, I mean, even though it's just one game, it's something to say, well, we'll give this guy a chance. So, hey, I want Sam Howell to go out and ball out.
Hey, Dre, with your Mel Kiper 1.0 mock draft, if they have the 10th pick in the draft, who do you select in the early stages of this process?
NFL pedigree, I'm going with the guy I've been kind of on all year, and that's Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback out of Penn State, because you solidify that secondary. Give me that cornerback. If you're sitting at 10, because I'm assuming if you're sitting at 10, you're not getting Stroud or Bryce Young. So just go ahead. And like I said, I don't care about Ron. If Ron is still here, I'm picking Joey Porter Jr. because I'm not letting Ron do too much to the quarterback position because whoever comes in after him is going to want to bring in their own guy anyway. So give me Joey Porter Jr. mock draft 1.0.
I actually like Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon more than Porter Jr.
Another baller.
Louis Gonzalez, he a DB?
Yeah, that boy 6'3", fluid hips, play the ball well. Transferred out of Colorado to Oregon. He nice, dog.
Damn, bet he wish he ain't transferred out of Colorado a year or two soon, bro.
Nah, he's still getting his bread. Like, I know Mual don't really be into the draft like that, but if you watch his tape in comparison to Porter, I think you'll see comparable players. I think that one just has more fluid hips, and in my opinion, that's Gonzalez. But Gonzalez like that. A lot of people bringing up like Ringo. Nah, I'm good off of Ringo.
Okay. Hawk says Joey Porter Jr. for the win, bringing his dad to play linebacker. That's funny.
He could probably be better than the guys they got right now.
Gazino said Ron gonna pick Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson. We gonna see Gazino, man. But listen, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Sam Howell. Oh my goodness, we're gonna see. Hopefully, he stands tall because he's not gonna have a lot of help out there in terms of starting on offense or defense. But we're gonna see a lot. Ayoshi says that there are a lot of hard-hitting cornerbacks in this draft. I love this time of the year. And Dre, you're gonna be our guy. We're gonna get some people to come on the show and break down draft prospects as well. But and then obviously I'll look at the tape as the games as the weeks move along. But I don't even know where to start. I was gonna think offensive line. Dre, you went with skill position, which is fine.
We still need OL. We need that.
I was going O-line, so we're gonna see what's up. Hawk, I think we got like off the top of my head, I think we got like 9. I may be wrong, but I think we got like 9. But yeah, fellas, AJ, Dre, appreciate y'all coming through. That's gonna wrap it up for us. I'm thinking Tuesday because like, what's the point of? I mean, unless Sam Howell has an excellent day, let's go ahead and play it by ear. Because I mean, what's the point of recapping a dead game in that sense? But we're gonna talk about it.
And we gonna recap that Jay Glazer report that Ron is stepping away from the Washington franchise on Sunday night. That's what we're gonna recap. The shit gonna start leaking come Saturday, Sunday, dog. Like, he definitely got to think about stepping away. Like, preserve your legacy, my boy, whatever the fuck it is. Little Mexican.
That's it. We're done. We're done.
Yep.
Y'all be safe, man. Enjoy your week and all that good stuff, man. We out of here, man. Peace, bro.